So what is my answer? Like, I'm looking at my notes. I can go back to the article itself, scroll through, see if I can come up with a good answer. But I want to come up with one that really fits and it is something that I got from the text. So one, it has to be something that I agree with, essentially. But two, it also has to come from the text. It can't just be something I'm inferring or something that I came up with on my own. Like, it has to be supported by the evidence that we were able to pull from that text or from that article. So if I'm being honest, what I would like to say, because of how my brain thinks, which I think some of you guys will probably think differently than me, but because of the way that my brain thinks, what I want to say would be some tools that the immigrants used to help them with their journey were the people themselves. I don't know how to word that, and I don't know, because honestly, it does talk about the people, but there's evidence that suggests stronger reasons why. So I might say some tools that the immigrants used were to help them with their journey were covered wagons, and livestock. So animals, essentially. Then after I do the restate and answer, what I'm gonna do, and this is all in, I should make it like this so you guys can see, but this is all gonna be continuous, but then I need to cite. So where did I get that? So the citing part of the paragraph actually is where you're just saying, here's where I got that, Mrs. Rains, Miss McClellan, Miss Stewart, here's where this came from. I didn't just make this up. So what I would say for the citing part is that you need to introduce the quote. You need to introduce the information and tell where you got it from, the actual source. And so I think this is really important to get in the habit of, but I always put the title or the author in the actual introduction of it. So I would say according to, or in the, just like this. So this is how I would do it. So according to, and then I would put quotation marks because it's a title, Time Machine 1845. The Oregon Trail. And quotation, just like that. The immigrants had, and then I'm actually going to quote from the source because I have it in my evidence right here. They had 104 covered wagons, had 104 covered wagons. And then you can put ... if you need to skip some text, because then we see, I also need to support the fact that yes, they had covered wagons, but they also had livestock. So then we could put an abundance of animals. And honestly, if you just picked one answer, you would just need to cite it and you wouldn't have to even worry about this. So I would say according to according to Time Machine 1845, the Oregon Trail, the immigrants had 104 covered wagons and abundance of animals. Period. Okay, so then we have our R, A, and then this is actually, and again, you would normally put this all together because it's a paragraph, but just so you guys know, this is the cite part of race. And then you would need to do your explain. So in the explain, you need to explain two things. You need to explain what the evidence actually means, and then you also need to explain how that evidence or this piece of information that you've pulled supports your answer. And sometimes, I'm not going to lie, especially like with this one, because I already know what I'm going to put for the explain, it might seem a little redundant, but it's really like you're putting a nice little bow on this paragraph or on the end of this paragraph for the reader. Because sometimes when you write race paragraphs, or when you're speaking in a race paragraph format, when you're actually trying to give your answer an opinion and then use evidence to support yourself, sometimes, actually most of the time, probably in the real world, the person that's listening to you hasn't read the article, and they don't know where you got the information from. So you really need to explain it in a way that they can understand without having all of the knowledge and understanding that you have. So with that being said, for the explain on week 5, because again, the article that you guys actually have to do is in week 5, you were given a Pear Deck. This Pear Deck gives you tools to help you write a race paragraph. So what I'm going to look for right now would be these sentence starters. So how do I explain, or how do I start the sentence to explain this information? So actually, what I really needed to do was backtrack a little bit. I just wanted you guys to be aware that this slide existed for when you actually cite your text evidence. So for the C part of it, like we did according to, and then we put the title or the author name. Like I said, that was something that I like to do, or what I primarily go to when I'm introducing a quotation or citing. But you could also do things like, for example, the author says, for instance, in the text it says, and so on, the author states, that kind of thing. Now, as we're looking forward and ahead to do the explain part of the paragraph, you also will have sentence starters that will be coming up in weeks to follow. So I'm going to give you a couple of things that you could use. So first thing is, we need to explain what this quote means. So what I'm going to say is just simply, this quote shows, and this would be the sentence starter or the sentence stem, just like what you just saw for citing, but this is for explain. So this quote shows that the immigrants had many covered wagons and animals. And then you are going to, again, the second thing that you need to do, so this is sentence 1 and explain. You need to explain how this piece of information goes and supports your answer. So your answer was that some tools that immigrants used to help them with their journey were covered wagons and livestock. So down here you would say, this proves that some of the tools that they used, or immigrants used to help them with their journey were covered wagons and livestock. Okay, and again, this would all be one paragraph actually. So I will take out this and combine them just like this. And that's how you write a race paragraph. Okay, so now what I want us to do real quick, what if I had a different answer for this? So what I want you guys to do is to think about how you can answer this question but not use the same answer as me. Maybe you got different notes, maybe you came up with a different answer. So then what you would say would be, you'd restate and answer it. Some tools that the immigrants used to help them with their journey were blank. So you would put your own answer in there, according to, and then you would pull your own evidence put it there. This quote shows and this proves, those kind of things. So this is how you write a race paragraph using an article. And I just want to reiterate that it starts with figuring out what your question is. So, for example, in the crime scene investigation article, the question is, would you consider a career in this field? So, as you're reading through or listening along to or following along to that article, you're thinking to yourself, would I consider a career in this field? Why or why not? And those are the pieces of evidence that you're going to go into that article. You're going to go into this article and you're going to highlight. So as you're reading through about CSI investigating a crime scene, you're actually going through and highlighting just like I did, maybe making an annotation because you guys have an option to annotate, maybe pulling them into the actual writing box prompt itself. So you're putting it over here. Maybe you have another separate sheet of paper or you have another document that you're copying and pasting that into, but you're collecting evidence as you go along and read this to answer the question. And the question is, again, would you consider a career in this field? So now I need you to go ahead and do that, and I need you to apply what you learned in this video and use the resources that you were shown in this video to go ahead and write a race paragraph on this prompt. Please let me know if you have any questions.